All right, let's talk about what to do with your earned money and in what order. And this was actually unclear for me when I started out on my financial journey more than 10 years ago. So if you're wondering too what you should do with your money in what order, and maybe you're scared to make the wrong choices, then keep watching. And while we go through the steps together, because in this video, I'll walk you through how I would do that. And while we go through the different steps, I will also talk about some different scenarios, in case your situation is a little bit different than mine is or was. Because I want you to exactly know what to do next. I'm Sophia. I've been learning about personal finance and investing for more than a decade now. I also love to talk about everything that I learned, and on this channel I share the tips and the strategies on how to build wealth without living frugal. Now, before we dive in, I will assume that you have disposable income. So if you earn $2,000 a month and your apartment costs $2,100 a month and none of the other costs are covered, then this video will not help you, because then you have a cost problem. Yeah, just wanted to get that out of the way. Now, the first step that I would start with is liquidity. We need liquidity, which simply means that we need to be able to pay for unexpected expenses, because that medical bill or that car repairment bill might come up, and we need to be prepared for that. And this is actually what I got wrong in the beginning, because I had started to invest without having an emergency fund. And luckily, nothing happened in that time, but that's not how I would do that again. Now, here's what's important. You keep the money for your emergency fund in a place that is not your checking account, so not the same account where you pay your bills from. And what I use and also recommend you use is a high yield savings account, because that is an account where you can access your money very fast. That's important for us. And you still get paid an interest, which grows your money there a little faster. Now, if you followed me for a while, you know that I recommend an emergency fund of 6 months. I think 3 months is too tight. And I personally even aim for 12 months because I just like to be on the safe side. But you do not have to build the whole 6 months of expenses into your emergency fund before you do any of the other things that we are going to talk about in this video. You can do things simultaneously, and I will get back to that in a minute. But what I would do is I would fill up 1 month of expenses as fast as possible. So focus 100% of your money on that 1 month expenses covered. Make that a sprint. So ideally you fill it up between 2 and 4 months. You see, I'm challenging you. Step number 2 is use the employer match. Okay, so I've thought about that. During the time where you fill up your emergency fund, I would use that time to check if my employer offers a match. And the reason why I'm putting this relatively early in my order is because when you use the employer match, that will slightly change your income. So just real quick, employer match is when your employer matches your contributions for retirement, and that contribution gets deducted from your gross income. So you contribute a part of your gross income to retirement, and your employer matches that exact amount. So that is free money. And you can take advantage of that employer match only in the current year. So you cannot get that for the years that have already passed. Now, not every country and also not every employer offers that. So feel free to skip this section if that doesn't apply to you. And even if your employer offers this, please check the conditions first. So questions like, does it apply to your kind of income? Are you planning to stay long enough with that employer so you can really benefit? And then when you decide to use it, because your gross income changes, also your after-tax income will slightly change. And then once that is set up, you have a very specific number you can calculate with for the next steps to come. And you're also already taking care of your retirement, which is great. And then step number 3 is to pay off high interest rate debt. Now, if you have high interest rate debt, and I would define high interest rate everything above 6%, then we pay that off next. Because now you already have a cash buffer of 1 month, and this is hopefully already enough to prevent you from going further into debt. And now you also have an exact number of income that you can calculate with to tackle your debt. And now in this step, the goal is to get rid of your debt as fast as possible. But I still think that liquidity is important, and that is why I'll come back to the doing things simultaneously now. So having 1 month of expenses in the emergency fund is already a great start. For me personally, it's still too tight. And that is why I would take care of those two at the same time. And here's how that could look like. So you have already defined an amount of money that goes into your emergency fund. Let's say, for example, because you're really ambitious and you really want to get this done, it's $1,000 per month. Now, theoretically, you could put those $1,000 per month towards your debt. And the other option is you split that amount, and one part of that amount keeps filling up your emergency fund, and the other part of that amount keeps paying off your debt. By the way, I will assume that you already pay off the minimum, the absolute minimum of your debt. And now how you could split it is you could say, okay, 90%, in this case $900, go towards my debt, and 10%, so $100, go towards my emergency fund. You can also choose 80 for debt, 20 for emergency fund, 70 for debt, 30 for emergency fund. You get the picture. I would not use less than 50-50. So I would not use less than, in our case, $500 to put towards your debt. So one note on that strategy. Both those actions, so paying off your debt and filling up your emergency fund, they both increase your net worth. So know that you're already actively working on growing your net worth, because paying off the debt reduces the minus you're in, and putting money into the emergency fund increases your assets. But the reason I do not recommend to put less than 50% towards your debt is because of the interest rate you pay on that debt is basically a leak in your finances. So imagine you walk with a bag full of money and the bag has a hole and you lose money. And now the faster you close that hole, which is paying off your debt, the faster your net worth will grow because you stop losing money. All right, and then after your high interest rate debt is paid off, step number 4 is to finish your emergency fund. And here again, you have options. So if your debt is paid off before your emergency fund is fully funded, you can then either put 100% of your money towards your emergency fund, or we could stay with the simultaneous strategy, which means, for example, you keep the split, or now you change the split. Maybe if you put 90% towards your debt and 10% towards emergency fund, now you split it 50-50. And then 50% go towards your emergency fund, and the other 50% either go towards low interest rate debt, so everything less than 6% per year. Or if you want to start invest, you can put the other half of that money towards investments. And now before I continue with step number 5, what we have covered up until now is what I call financial security. So things like filling up the emergency fund, taking care of retirement, paying off debt. Those are all part of the 6 essentials to financial security. And because in the beginning of my financial journey, I didn't really know where to start, I put all of those aspects together into a checklist, the checklist financial security. If you want to download it as a reminder, there's a link down below, it's free. And now let's continue with step number 5, which is invest with tax advantaged accounts. So if your country offers tax-advantaged investment accounts, not every country does. And also here again, the conditions apply to you. Because the thing with tax advantages is that they always come with certain conditions. And you have to check those conditions first, if you really benefit from them. One of the conditions, for example, is that usually you cannot take out the money of tax-advantaged retirement accounts before the official retirement age. Or if you want, then it comes with penalties. Another condition is that you can only put so much towards those accounts because the government wants to support us, but of course their generosity is not endless. So you will not be able to put millions and millions of dollars every year into tax-advantaged accounts. So the amount you can put in will be limited. And then the goal of the step number 5 is to max out that amount. So max out the amount that you can put towards those tax-advantaged accounts. And by the way, depending where you live, there may be other tax-advantaged investment accounts as well, like for example the HSA in the US. There the same rules apply. So check the conditions if you're in your unique situation really benefit from those tax-advantaged accounts. And then step number 6 is keep investing. Now, once you've done all the things we've talked about, you have a very secure financial net. Congratulations. And now we keep putting the money that we used for all the other steps. We keep putting those towards our investments so that our wealth grows even more. So that it grows even to a point where we reach financial independence, which is the moment where you can live off of your investments, so off the return of your investments, and then your work is not a must anymore. it is an option. And then you invest further through, normal taxable brokerage accounts. And also, of course, if you want, the higher your net worth grows, the more you can think about spreading your investments over different asset classes. So for example, if you want to invest into real estate, or if you want to buy crypto, or try any other investments. Now, in case you need some extra motivation to go through the steps, I will link a video for you here that is about why the first $100,000 invested are so important. So I hope you learned something. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye-bye.